Welcome to DFS Insights, where the game behind the game comes to life. I am David Geislinger, and alongside me is David Grant Jr., my cousin and co-strategist. The teams up on the block are the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Dallas Mavericks.
With your lineup success as our top priority, this is where David and I will dive deep into our top three players that we like for this specific game in the series. We will break down the strategy behind our picks and share the insights that will help you put your lineups over the top and into the money. If you're kind enough to please give us a like and subscribe if you happen to like what you hear, and just make sure to stay tuned until the very end because we actually give away two absolutely free lineups for you.
Yeah, so here we go. Game 4 of this, Western Conference semifinal here. Dallas and OKC. Denver just wrapped up, tied the series at 2-2. So Dallas leads this one 2-1. So can OKC step it up to basically come back and tie the series? So when they go back home. But before we get into Game 4 here, like we usually do, give you a quick recap of the previous game up here. So Dallas sneaked out a victory, 105-101, leading the top three fantasy producers: SGA, Holmgren, Jalen Williams. Number one, Jalen Williams. Top three for OKC. And then Luka, Kyrie, and PJ Washington were the top three for Dallas. Previous optimal wasn't too crazy. SGA, MVP, Chet Holmgren, star, PJ Washington, Jalen Williams, and then you had the shot in the dark here. Isaiah Joe came in and got 20 points. So I believe he was a 6K, 6,500 or so player. That ended up doing fairly well. 6,500. So it was unique. Guy won 10K, so congratulations to that. Projected ownerships coming in here to Game 4. As you can see up on the screen, Luka is still, substantially actually ahead, more owned at the MVP, coming about 52%, where SGA has actually been MVP the last, 3 games. And he's still sitting at about a 32% there. So, these typically are within about 2 or 3%. So these are fairly accurate. It's benefiting. Going SGA, he is lower owned, so that's nice to see. He did go up salary though, so we do have 2 players now over 17K. So, keep an eye on that. It's very hard now to do a Luka SGA or SGA Luka lineup. It gets pretty dicey. So with that, moving on in here to Game 4 stats. Dallas is coming in favored, 1.5 points, 215 over under. Offensive rating, Dallas 110.4, defensive 113.9, pace 96.17. Yeah, so, and then obviously inverse for Oklahoma City Thunder. These are just, the stats for this series. Notable injuries: Luka is still listed as game time decision. There's no doubt in my mind, based on his 2 previous performances, that he is playing. And I don't think there's really, I haven't seen too much to say that he won't play in this matchup. And Kleblar is still out. For Dallas. No notable injury tags for Oklahoma City Thunder, which makes things very easy. And with that, do you got anything to add on, just the main overall game before we get into our key players here?
Just that, like you mentioned, man, we got 2 guys here now over 17K. Even going one of them in Kyrie, and Kyrie's 2,000 less. That even makes for a pretty tight build, so it should be interesting on this specific slate what an optimal lineup ends up looking like. So looking forward to diving in here and getting things popping.
Yeah, I need to find that value down there at the bottom. So if you plan on doing those heavy hitters. So Yeah, let's go ahead and before we get into it, please make sure you do hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. It does help out the channel quite a bit, and we do quite a bit of research here. And let's see what kind of research David did to start us off here.
Yes, sir. I mean, there shouldn't be anything surprising, but I'm going as usual to SGA as my first pick. He's averaging 65.7 fantasy points per game here against Dallas. So I just don't see any reason not to just keep going back to that well. Whoever has the most raw fantasy points typically needs to be at that MVP spot to double, and I trust him at this point more than Luca. Luca has looked good on the court. I've been following the games, and even though he looks healthy, like I say, every game he looks like a different level of health. So the inconsistency of not knowing what I'm going to get, I'd rather just spend the extra. Actually, to be honest, you're not even spending an extra 500 because SGA is 17K. So you're even saving 500 for someone who's, being consistent, and everything of his is in the green. You name it. His usage, his minutes, his points per game, his field goal attempts per game. I mean, this dude arguably could have been MVP. So he's pretty much a lock for me. I'll have a couple Lucas. Obviously, like you said, they're two different paths. Uh, Putting them in the same lineup is dang near impossible. I I probably wouldn't recommend it unless you're doing 150 lineups. But yeah, I got SGA first. And what are your thoughts on that? And who do you got here for your first pick?
Yeah, no, obviously SGA, and plus playing him over Luca, you get an ownership play too because he's coming in, about like I mentioned, about 36% at the MVP slot, where Luca's coming in at about 52. So 500 cheaper ownership play, averaging more fantasy points. I mean, and he, if you're looking at past performances, he's been the MVP the previous 3 games as well. He does have the highest points per salary coming in about 3.75. So, as long as he's maintaining that average of 60 points, which is pretty hard, but I think he does have a decent matchup. I mean, even looking back at the Pelicans, who I thought were pretty soft, I mean, he didn't hit 61 time there, but he has 3 times in this matchup. Not to mention, Oklahoma City Thunder seems to probably have one of the deeper roster rotations as well, and for him to
Yeah,
continue to get the points that he's getting, yeah, that's awesome. So, yeah, I obviously like him. There's not too much else to add.
for
That
sure.
obviously primarily MVP. It'd be very hard to even drop him down to star,
So
uh,
yeah,
unless like you do that Luca him combo. Then yeah, that's the
yeah,
only way I see that him dropping a star for me. Anyways,
yeah.
so yeah, no, good,
I,
good.
yep, very nice. Who do you got first here up on the block that you like?
First, I'm gonna stay on the same side of the ball here. Go to Mr. Chet Holmgren. So
Oh,
I do like him coming in at that 12K salary mark. He's that put him at about a 3.14 points per salary. So coming in, it's about the third highest, um, third or fourth highest, value on the slate, even at the 12K mark. He is averaging 34.3 minutes, 18.9 usage, averaging 37.3 fantasy points, and he's projected roughly 34. So he'll maintain about that 3 average. So at that 12K mark, he seems like, very good play. And he does have upside to get, low to mid 40 as well. We've seen it, even in this series. He hit 43 fantasy points game 1. So would like to see him, especially if I up in the start, to hit that, the his upper, um, his high side,
feeling. Yeah,
on whatever the high side of his performance will be. Obviously, I'd like to see the high side on every player, but I'm going to be primarily playing him at the star and the pro. He is the third highest usage on the team. I put the little asterisk over 30 minutes because once you drop down, Giddy actually comes in higher than him, but Giddy's only getting about 12 minutes. So in this series, so that's why I put a little caveat. So he's basically their third option. And being 7 foot tall and being able to shoot a three ball pretty good helps uh, quite a bit there. So averaging 14 points, 7 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 steal, 3 blocks, and 2 turnovers. So he is putting it up on both sides of the floor, which you like to see, especially in your MVP star player. They can get points on both sides of the ball. So yeah, I like him. I think he has the potential. The range of outcomes with him is I think is there, and I will be playing him quite a bit. So what do you think about that? Before I get into my second pick.
Yeah, no, great pick. That actually is also one of my picks. He's again to me like the second most consistent player probably out there from either team from a fantasy perspective. And again, I know we only have a 3 game sample, but again, with where his price is and then what his floor and ceiling have been, I find it pretty hard to get away from playing him. I'm pretty much with you. I'll have him primarily in the star. I will have him in the utility as well. I'm sorry, not the utility, the in the pro spot. So star and the pro. I don't see myself dropping him down to the utility, but I'll have to see how many builds I end up making. If I were making 100, I might do that in 2 or 3, but I'm not making 100 lineups, so that probably won't get to that. But yeah, he's just the matchup between him and PJ Washington slash Gafford, uh, you know, seems to be going solid kind of for both sides. Um, and yeah, great play. I'll definitely co-sign that. And who do you got here for your second play?
Second play, I'm going to go with Mr. Derek Jones Jr. Yeah, he hasn't been doing all that great, and that has actually put his salary down to a range where he's actually has the potential. He's actually viable. Points per, he's down to now. He was at 9,500 last matchup. Now he's down to 7,500, which puts him at about a 2.3 points per salary. He is getting the minutes, 31.3. He's getting decent usage at 14.2. He's averaging about 17 points, 16.9. He's projected 18 points. So I think, his range of, fantasy points and production is perfect for his stat salary. Obviously, he hasn't been, like I said, doing well. I mean, he had, 17.4, 17, 16.3. So, I'm expecting a little bit higher. At 7.5, I want probably a higher end of his range. Maybe mid 20s from him. But with his ownership dropping, he's down to 13% overall. I think people are they were on the train and now they're jumping off. So I think with him dropping salary as well, he's a great fit down there at that utility, especially if you're trying to roster, those 17K Luca and SGA in your lineup. The points per salary, and so I think he's going to be a great play as long as he can at least hit his average. But then if he does exceed it, it'll be a great leverage play for your lineup. So. What do you think about that? And then, you can go with your third lineup.
That's not a pick. Yeah, no, I definitely like the Derek Jones play. I've been playing him, and I've been having quite a bit of exposure to him in each of my lineups. Throughout the series, I was kind of hoping for some type of breakout since the minutes seem to have been there. As you mentioned, 28 minutes, 36, 28, and 30. So I like the fact that he does have the opportunity, and at any time he can definitely catch on fire and go crazy from three. So yeah, and like you said, at the 7,500, that's a much more palatable salary for him in order to let you pay up in a couple other places. So yeah, really like that. I'll be playing him a lot in utility myself. Um, that kind of leads over to my final pick, which is going to be PJ Washington.
Oh, Mr.
I know I've been
PJ
saying,
Wash.
yeah, I know I've been saying Daniel Gafford, Daniel Gafford, Daniel Gafford. I'm not abandoning Gafford by any means. Um, I'll still be playing him as well, but every single game he seems to get hurt on the court. I mean, I have yet to see a game where this dude's like full strength from beginning to the end, and the last two games, there's literally no one to pick up the slack except for Lively or PJ Washington, and PJ Washington is the one on the floor getting way more minutes. PJ Washington's got 40 minutes, 40 minutes, and 26 minutes in game one. But again, with Kleba getting hurt, it does feel like Gafford gets hurt at some part during the game. We're really mainly that's why to me PJ Washington these last two games, is averaging 46 fantasy points. He's only 11,000. He's probably going to be chalky. That's fine. If you put him up at the star, that might be a good spot to try to get away from some of that ownership. I will have him at the star, the pro, and probably even the utility. Uh, Not as much though, mainly the star and the pro. And yeah, and again, I'm not abandoning Gafford. Definitely still play him. He is 10,000. He does have upside. It just I'm afraid of the injury part, so I'll be a little bit lower on him, and a little bit higher on PJ Washington and Derek Lively until I see Gafford looking healthy. So, what are your thoughts of me jumping over to here, PJ Washington, before we get to your last pick?
Yeah, no, I like PJ Washington. He's coming in, I think, at the second highest, value for 3.4, 3.38
Like,
points per salary. So yeah, no, he's been doing great. Obviously, the last two matchups compared to the first, two games, game two and three, and game one, it was still okay. I mean, not really okay, but it was 20 points. But he's kind of made up and boosted up his average there. Yeah, Gafford, he's still a really good play. His range is there and where you want it. It's just like you said that watching the game. I don't want to add that kind of factor in, but it's just it just seems like he looks at the ball and he gets hurt, and then he
yeah,
goes out and he's like, dude, does he come back in? And fortunate enough, he has come back in. However, PJ Washington has picked up, you know, 9 minutes. Derek Lively ended up, I believe, picking up an extra, 8 minutes from the
yeah.
previous game. So now, whether or not that happens this game, I wish I had a crystal ball to tell everybody, but I don't. I think if Gafford can stay out on the floor, I think he will be as viable, if not, more than probably PJ Washington. It's just you're taking that risk, but if you take the risk, a lot of people will probably fade him, or at least be lower owned due to that injury. So you could have the one up there in that aspect. But other than that, PJ Washington, I like him as a play. I'll be probably. I'll have a sprinkle him in the star for the ownership. He'll be probably way more owned. I have him coming in at roughly about 11% at the pro, but I think he might be slightly higher, probably closer to
Yeah,
14,
I think
15. So
yeah, I would agree with that for sure.
yeah, no, I
Nice.
like the play.
Fun.
Yeah, now moving in over here to my third pick. This is also going to be another value play, and I can't believe this actually happened. I really wish I had like insider information on how Fanduel's prices players. Uh,
Yeah.
because I'm going back. If you watched our game three vid, I had Jalen. This is Jalen, number two Williams. He was at 7,500 in that matchup. Ended up, scoring pretty decent for 75 or for 7K. Ended up about 11 fantasy points, which is not great, not bad for 7K. But they dropped him 6K. Now I think he is one of the higher points per salary players on the slate, coming in at about a 2.8, 2.9. He's getting okay minutes for being basically a backup, about 14.6. His usage is there when he's on 16.5. He's averaging 17 points in these 3 games, and at a 6K salary, that's all you need. Uh, and then he's projected about 12 this matchup, and even 12 has the potential to still land in the optimal since his salary is basically the lowest it can be. This will allow you to definitely put in an SGA Luka combination and still have an okay you know pro and alternate utility play. So that's why I'm going to him. I mean, his usage is there. His fantasy production is there. They dropped him 1,000, so I'll take it, and I'm gonna run with it. Like I said, his range is he 11 fantasy points game 3, but he had 25 in game 1. So if he ends up anywhere in that range, and perfect, done. 6K all day.
Yeah.
So what do you think about that, and what do you think about that price drop there?
Matt, great find, great catch on the price drop. I mean, I'm speechless. They dropped him to 6K. I have
And
no idea what they're
and you have
thinking.
to like not even the top 6K player. Like you actually have to scroll down past the outs, past everybody. Like seriously, he's the 5th from the bottom.
Man, yeah, that's wild because I went him, pretty decently last game, even though, he only got 11 because, like you mentioned, he's got a 15 and a
He's
25 point
last
game.
game he was 18% owned. I mean, he's
So,
doing good. Like
it,
I'll
yeah,
take it. Like I said.
I'll take that all day for sure. Yeah, great find. It, yeah, that's one we should have just kept in your back pocket. But here at DFS Insights, we do want everybody else to also win. So, prime example, great catch. Yeah, that salary drop's insane. I mean, that makes him almost a must play, to be honest. I mean, at 6K, like you said, 10. I've seen 10 fantasy points be enough at that 6K salary to win. So, really, that's usually what happens, to be honest. So, man, great catch. Love the play. I'll be using him a boatload now in utility as well. So I appreciate the excellent choice there.
Yeah. Nice. All
And
right.
thank you, FanDuel,
Yeah.
for the price
Yeah,
drop.
I'll take it all day. Thanks for that. So again, nice. Well, there again's another. 5 key players. I think we overlapped on Chet Holmgren there. So hope everything. Everybody paid attention, listened, and everything. And please, before we get into our lineups, you're about to do, make sure you hit that like, subscribe, notification bell. It does, as mentioned earlier, it helps out quite a bit, and get us put out in front of more people. Like David said, we're giving out information that probably people would keep in their back pocket and things like that. Now we can't give you all the answers, we're just putting out the information that we've gathered. If I knew the outcome of tomorrow's game, well, hey,
Yeah.
it'd be great to look into the future and see that. But here we are, just basically putting out our information and our opinions on how things are going to go. So glad you guys are sticking around. And with that, if you are just joining us, welcome to DFS Insights. We just gave over, we typically give 6 key players. We overlapped on 1. So go back if you have any questions about these lineups that you just came to grab. We do break down, kind of our thought process for the most part. So without me going on too much longer, here's those lineups. Okay, looking like, see, I went the SGA Luka combo. See, Jalen Williams fit in there perfect there. And
Nice.
you threw in the, PJ, Chet, we overlap. Nice, all right. 2 different approaches. Yeah,
I didn't realize how close mine was. My lineup was to the optimal last game, which I did not do on purpose. That it's with the salary changes and everything. That's kind of the path it led me. So, knowing it did that, I might just for everyone out there, I have this lineup locked in, but I am gonna put PJ Washington and Chet and just switch them for an ownership play. So you might want to consider doing that as well. I'm putting in both lineups, but on top of what's there. So
nice.
yeah.
Nice. All right. Well, with that, yeah, stay tuned. So, as we're covering, like I said, we cover mainly the Western Conference ones just because it's typically the larger tournaments. So yeah, it looks like probably the next one will be the Game 5 the Denver matchup, Denver, Minnesota. So stay tuned to that. And then if you have any questions about previous games, just stay to the end, and it will redirect you to the Game 3, so you can get all the information there, which is viable to use here in Game 4. So with that, good luck. Hope to see you on the leaderboards. Use that advice that we give. It's all relative, and we use it ourselves, and we put our money where our mouth is. So with that, David, you got anything to say?
Hey, it should be a great game tomorrow. Looking forward to watching the whole thing. Hopefully everyone stays healthy, and good luck to everyone out there, and we will talk to you on the next one.